What type of cyclist are you? You might be a mountain biker or a cyclocross rider. You might be a track rider. You might be a unicyclist. You could even be a bicycle gymnast. Or you could be, like most of us, a road rider.
Yeah, but road riding is a big category, isn't it? I mean, within that, you've got sprinters and climbers and puncheurs, rouleurs. I mean, the list probably goes on, just my French isn't quite good enough. Question is though, do you know where your strength lies? Which one of those are you?
To find out is really quite simple. You will need a power meter on your bike and you'll then need to do a few tests. And it's not just about finding out what your functional threshold power or power to weight is, because whilst that is a decent gauge of what level of cyclist you are, it certainly doesn't give the whole story and it's not the be all and end all.
No, absolutely not. Mark Cavendish, prime example. Now his FTP is obviously very high considering the general spectrum of cyclists, but yet his sprint power is truly exceptional, and that's what has made him one of the greatest cyclists of all time.
Right then, to find out what type of cyclist you are, you need to do 4 tests to find out your maximum power over 5 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes and an hour.
I tell you what, mate, I've just remembered, I've actually got to be somewhere. You finish this one yourself, mate. And
you know what type of cyclist Richardson is. He is a wimp cyclist, aren't you, Richardson? Let's start then with the shortest test, which is probably the least painful, your 5-second test. This one is really very simple. All you need to do after a decent warm-up is sprint as hard as you possibly can for a little bit more than 5 seconds and take the highest average power over 5 seconds. Make sure you do it over a range of cadences and also speeds and gradients until you've achieved your highest 5-second power. You got over triple figures yet, mate? Try again.
Coming up next, we've got our 1 minute test where we will be finding out the average power we can sustain for 60 seconds. And most people are probably going to find that doing this on a climb, particularly a steep one, is going to yield the best results. Now, in terms of technique, you need to be mentally prepared for this as much as anything. Because it hurts, you're going to need to be totally committed. The last thing you want is to then, at the end of it, feel like you need to do it all over again. Because if nothing else, you're going to have to wait quite a while until you're in good enough shape. Okay, you ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, now the technique is to go pretty much full gas from the start, and then try and hold on for as long as possible. You will fade, but that doesn't matter.
I am sure you're all getting the hang of this now, and so it won't come as a huge surprise when I inform you that the 5-minute test involves putting as much power out as you can for the course of 5 minutes. This one though does require a degree of pacing, because if you start out too fast, you will pay for it and fade significantly, and therefore you won't achieve the highest power of which you are capable. And once again, you'll probably find this test easiest to do on a climb.
Lastly, we have the hour. Now you can ride as hard as you can for an hour. That would definitely give you the most accurate result, but it's hard. Like really hard, psychologically particularly, to actually get a full hour of power. And so we'd recommend that you cheat a little bit. Like not really cheating, but there's a very good estimation that you can do. So instead of an hour, do 20 minutes as hard as you possibly can, and then multiply the result by 0.95. Now you may find that it technically overestimates, you may find that it underestimates. But as long as you keep it consistent, test after test, it's a pretty good gauge.
Now, since all of these tests are so blooming hard, you can't really do them all on the same day and expect to get accurate results.
What? Well, now you tell me.
Yeah, sorry. Because you need to be as fresh as possible for each one to put out your maximum power. So what you might want to do is your 5-second and your 5-minute test separated by half an hour or so of easy riding on one day. And a day or two later, you can do your 1-minute and 20-minute tests.
Well, that does sound like a better idea, doesn't it? There is a possible alternative as well, actually. If you have a good amount of historical training or even racing data, you may well find that at some point in the last couple of seasons, you will have set a record 5 second, 1 minute, 5 minute or hour power, in which case you can use that.
Then you just need to put all of this historical data into some good training software, such as Training Peaks, for example, and it will then regurgitate a critical power curve for you, which gives you your maximum power at all durations that you want. Now, you are probably wondering how on earth you decipher what type of rider you are from the tests that you have just done. And we're about to tell you. Firstly, though, you will need to work out your power to weight ratio for each of those test durations. Now, that is simply the power that you produced divided by your weight. And make sure you're honest with your weight.
Yeah. Then you need to check out the following table. Now, you can get hold of it on trainingpeaks.com. What you will see there is a rank of power to weight ratios from the very best cyclists in the world to complete novices. More likely, you will find yourself probably in one of the 7 categories between those two.
It's important to note, actually, with that table, that the very top line that's there in red is for the best in the world at those specific durations. So going back to our example of Mark Cavendish, although he's a sprinter, he wouldn't rank right at the top of the 5 second chart, because that is the domain of track sprinters, or perhaps even BMX riders, who incidentally have produced some of the highest powers ever recorded.
Yeah. And similarly, with the 1 minute power, that is also likely to be a track rider, a kilo rider like Chris Froome, for example, who specialises in 1 minute power.
Now, you've done the power to weight ratios for each test, so you want to find the number that is closest to what you've worked out on the chart and circle it. And after you've circled them, draw a line between each one, and the shape of that line is going to tell you what type of rider you are.
At last!
Yes,
we've got there.
Finally got there.
You've probably got a lot of perseverance if you're still here.
Yeah, hello to whoever's left. Right, first up then, Si, the horizontal line. What do you reckon that is?
Purely at a guess, Dan, I'd say it's probably an all-rounder, or somebody who's rubbish at everything.
It's reasonably obvious. His guess was not that good. Somebody that doesn't have any weaknesses, but likewise doesn't have a particular speciality either. It is quite rare, though, to have that horizontal line, mainly because this chart does include those specialists, such as track sprinters or Tour de France climbers. Right then, Si, next up, what do we have in terms of a rider if you've got an upward slope?
Well, you are most likely to be a time trialist or an exceptionally good steady state climber, because you are not going to have any neuromuscular sprint power to speak of, and you're not going to be all that much cop at 1 minute power either. So this is probably going to leave you in road races feeling a little bit frustrated, because you will no doubt feel like you're stronger than everyone else. You probably are. You just can't get rid of them because you can't accelerate for toffee. So that is why you will look forward to the time trial stages and stage races perhaps, and also anything with those big long climbs. Yeah,
the complete opposite then, of course, is the gradually descending slope on the chart, and that means you're a sprinter, in effect. You've got a great neuromuscular power, you're pretty good anaerobically, but you do start to struggle once you get to the longer climbs. You're an anaerobic monster, really, so in a road race you are going to struggle to keep up with the time trialist and steady climb from before, but if you do manage to stay on their wheel, you're easily going to outsprint them at the finish.
I'd call those people pesky, Dan, if I'm completely honest. What then if you have an inverted V as your profile?
Well, this was my profile actually when I was racing professionally, Si. So my 5 second power was at the top end of very good.
Was it really?
Yeah. My 1 minute power was exceptional, and my 5 minute power was almost world class. Whoa. And then it dropped off slightly for the sprint afterwards. So what that meant was that I was okay at the long climbs, but I struggled a bit. I was pretty good at the short, sharp climbs, and then a little bit off the pace in the sprints.
A little bit off the pace?
Yeah, I was quite a long way off the pace in the sprints. So I was what you would call a puncher.
All right then, and if you are the opposite of that, so you have a genuine V shape, well, you're a rare breed, aren't you really? So rare, in fact, that we would suggest you might actually want to go and retake the test, because having a great sprint power and a great aerobic engine, but not very much in between, doesn't make a great deal of sense, physiologically speaking, does it? So maybe just head out the front door and have another pop at it.
I know that our viewers will want to know what shape your line is in this chart though, Si.
Well, I will tell you. It's not dissimilar to yours, Dan, except annoyingly my sprint power was even lower than yours. I couldn't even out-sprint myself most days. But on the flip side, my FTP was a smidge higher, so I'm kind of an inverted V, but with a, more of a plateau. Yeah.
I would be interested to know what the demographic of GCN viewers is in terms of type of rider. Let us know what line shape you came out with in the comment section just down below. The question though now is, once you found out what type of rider you are, what on earth do you do?
Well, this is quite a philosophical question, isn't it? And we perhaps don't have time to go into all that much detail right now, but having discussed it a little bit beforehand, we think that your strength needs to be a weapon in order to help you win races. So you need to work on that strength until it is a truly race-winning capability. But then you also need to make sure that your weaknesses don't hold you back. So if you are a super strong sprinter, but you can never get to the finish line with the front group, then clearly the important thing is to work on your weaknesses. However, if you are a super strong time trialist, but you are an absolutely lousy sprinter, then maybe it's worth developing that time trialing ability until that becomes your weapon.
Yeah, I think, like you say, this is quite an in-depth topic really, isn't it? What on earth do you do once you've found out what type of rider you are?
Well, I know what we need to do. We need to read some philosophy. How's the art of war?
Yeah, once we have, I think we should revisit this in a future video.
Indeed.
Right, well that's the end of this particular video. If you have enjoyed it, please give us the thumbs up just down below. And if you would like to find out what type of rider you are from a psychological point of view, we've got that covered too, just down here.